into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello and welcome to the 88th Annual Academy Awards coverage here on AFTERBUZZ TV.
Woo-hoo.
I'm your host, Steve Kaufmann. You can find me on Twitter at Steve Kaufmann, Kaufmann. Thank you so much for joining us live on YouTube or downloading our podcast on the interwebs through the iTunes store. I said the interwebs.
Yeah.
Did not take me long to lose any seriousness I had.
We know what you're talking about.
I loved it.
I'm not alone. I'm not the only voice here.
Yes.
Starting to my left.
Hey guys, I'm Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's Zoe Said What. And to my left.
Hi guys, I'm Samantha Benitz. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, McCall Hall. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter, and now on Snapchat at McCall Hall, when sports and pop culture collide.
So, the Academy Awards just happened. The Oscars just happened. Around the table, I just want to get everyone's first thoughts about the whole show. Mm-hmm. And then if there were any snubs or anything that just, what you think the big takeaway from the show is. First person to say something.
Ooh, me. I thought they did a great job. I was really impressed. I think that they had a long road to haul, really, because, we've heard so much, this Oscars so white. I mean, you can't have gotten to the Oscars tonight without hearing that tag. Mm-hmm. And so they were between a rock and a hard place of, are we going to address it or just sweep it under the rug and pretend it never happened? And I think they had a really nice balance. So my takeaway was, good job, and I loved the sets. I thought they were gorgeous.
And with a host like Chris Rock, you knew they weren't going to avoid it.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
You can't avoid much with Chris Rock.
Yeah, he goes in.
But it was done tastefully, too.
Yeah.
They did. I felt like everything, the humor tonight was done very, classy and tastefully, and I really enjoyed the show. I liked it from beginning to end. The presentation was good, and I felt like it wasn't really dragging at any points. I didn't find myself like, come on, get to the best actor. I want to know if Leo's going to take home the award or not. So I felt like they had some good performances as well. So all over, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The production was great. To your point, sometimes the Oscars get kind of slow, but they had some great segments and whatnot. But Chris Rock came out the gate. He gave us what we wanted. He gave us that risque. He took it there because of the Oscars So White hashtag. And overall, I think they did a nice job of incorporating diversity, except for one part, and we will get to that.
Do we want to do it right now?
I want to know what's on your mind.
Stacey Dash is an idiot. I'm not quite sure why she was allowed to even grace the stage of the Oscars. I get the joke. I understand that, naming her this parody, this joke, president of diversity for Academy Awards outreach. I know that was the joke, but you can have the butt of the joke, have the punchline, and the person doesn't have to be there.
Yeah, well, because the punchline only makes sense. And it got, the actual punchline, although a lot of people didn't laugh because it was clear he was leading to a person to come out. But the actual punchline of Stacey Dash being in charge of this was a funny punchline.
Yeah.
And would have gotten a laugh on its own merit.
I agree.
It would have been funny on its own merit, but the second she graced the stage, I think myself and the rest of Twitter went, girl, what are you doing there?
Because then it's not
fast,
funny.
yeah.
Because then it's no longer funny because she's ultimately the butt of the joke. She's ultimately the butt of the joke, so she can't be there. Like, if I made a joke about Bill Cosby right now, we'd all laugh hysterically.
Yes, we would.
If Bill Cosby came out before the punchline was over,
we'd be like,
we would all not stop drinking our drinks.
Yeah.
Also,
did anybody see Chrissy Teigen's face?
I didn't. What did she do?
The same face she always does.
Not sure what to take of it, right?
No.
Or there was also the Weeknd, which that's his name. His name is The Weeknd.
Friday to Sunday.
Okay.
Right.
But him and his whatever he calls hair.
Right.
He there was a GIF going around of his reaction to that was pretty much everyone's reaction of just like,
yeah.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, look. I get that it's a joke. I get that it's supposed to be funny, but here's the deal. There are countless actresses of all different colors and shades that have not had the opportunity to grace the stage of the Oscars as a presenter, as an award winner, as a nominee, as anything. And you would give Stacey Dash that opportunity. That's what disappointed me. She got an opportunity tonight to wear a gown and be the center of attention, even if she was the butt of the joke. Wasn't feeling it.
I can't deny that. That's right. And then for all the crazy things she said up until now, and then for the joke to not even be funny. Like, I would have put a lot of that aside if the joke were crafted in a way where she was okay with being a butt of the joke.
Yeah.
But, like, her actual joke that she came in was like, I'm celebrating Black History Month. Like, that wasn't even funny, and we're beating a dead horse with this one.
Yeah.
But we can move on, but that's the big takeaway.
Stacey Dash, you are now irrelevant.
Because that
officially.
was the one jeer. There's a lot of cheers tonight for like produced segments for this show and how they've handled a lot. That's the jeer.
Yeah.
Of just like, oh man.
I'm glad we got the bad out of the way.
Yeah, like-
There's a lot of good.
There's a lot of
good.
positives. There's
There's
no
good.
weight, I think.
So, speaking of the positives, Chris Rock comes out. Well, before that, we have a montage with, I would say this montage was about half and half of movies that were nominated and movies that were hardly nominated.
That's what I was trying to figure out. I saw about 7 clips from the NWA Straight Outta Compton movie. I'm like, it was only nominated for one thing, y'all.
Because although they do this all the time with their opening montages, it's a celebration of 2015's year in film.
Right.
So I understand them showing all of the important films of 2015, but then Chris Rock comes out and immediately calls it out. He's like, I saw like 15 black dudes in that picture, in that montage. None of them are nominated.
I was thinking the same thing the whole time.
And then he just rapid fire. Like, I'll just pull out some of my favorites. Last thing a lot of people are saying I need to cancel this job, and he's like, last thing I need to do is lose another job to Kevin Hart.
Right? That was funny.
That was good.
Because you know Kevin Hart's coming for that spot.
He said it on the red carpet. He was like, it's a personal goal of mine to host this show.
Yeah, even Kevin was laughing right after he said it, so I was like, yeah, he's probably right. Like, Kevin could definitely do a great job in the future. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all.
Possibly next year.
Yeah, hey,
Possibly
maybe.
next year if they don't keep Chris Rock. It sounds like they're going one-shots.
He did a great job, though, today. I was so impressed. I felt like he was just hilarious. Like, even in his opening montage, just the jokes, and I felt like he just got the audience to all feel comfortable, despite there being this elephant in the room after all this controversy up to the award show. So I thought he just did such a great job of unifying the room and making it feel like, okay, we're here tonight, we're still going to try to celebrate and, you know, give credit where credit is due.
And that tonight isn't about... Tonight isn't about like, oh, all of this is wrong and rigged and you shouldn't care. Like, tonight is to a certain extent a celebration of this was a problem in the 1960s, but there were bigger problems.
Exactly.
Right.
This tonight should be a celebration that we finally, our problems are to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he implied that tonight as well, and I enjoyed.
Yeah, that was a great comment.
The positive vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
an excellent point.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what he was getting at. He had a lot of the fun stuff, and straight off the bat, they go in and say, the theme we're going with is the Oscars, the creation of a movie, start to finish. So we're going to start with the writing. And my list doesn't tell me who came out and did the presenting, but the first award of the night is the winner for Best Original Screenplay. Spotlight wins. How do we feel about this? That was my pick.
I was a little disappointed in Spotlight, to be honest. I felt that I kept waiting for the big climax, like, where's our big scene? There was a lot of talk in the movie about, okay, the church will come after you. So I kept waiting. Where's the church? What's going to happen? You know? And it just never got there for me. So although I know there was obviously a lot of support, I mean, in the end, spoiler alert, right? They just won Best Picture. So I think that clearly there was a lot of support for them, but I didn't get there.
That movie, I thought, because they were pretty much doing a really long research paper. And they were able to make us interested the whole way of just a bunch of people like digging through newspaper articles and like writing a research paper. So I thought this was definitely the best original screenplay. It was based on real life, which according to their rules, means, yeah, fine, it can be an original screenplay. Whereas if you're based on a book, which The Big Short was, you win for Best Adapted Screenplay.
Which is impressive.
Yes.
I mean, that's a real challenge when you have the opportunity to write the book. Everybody knows how it all plays out. It's not original. So it's always interesting to see how those movies actually come together on screen and if they do justice for the book, right?
Yeah. Also, this one written by Adam McKay, who is first serious movie he's ever written, ever directed, ever been involved in. And I remember I was at, I'm not going to remember the festival, but it was a festival around October. And all I read in the program was The Big Short, directed by Adam McKay, and then it had just this laundry list of amazing actors. And I thought it was a short film. Like, I thought he was just making this cameo-driven, crazy short film.
Yeah.
To just, because that's who you think when you think of Adam McKay. That I was like, oh, is he just making a 15-minute, like, romp through, and then Carell's here and Brad Pitt's here and then Christian Bale's here and it's all that, they're all in one location or something? And then I'm like, oh no, this is based on the book about the financial crisis, and it's probably the most important film of 2015.
I think it's timely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Incredibly timely, especially with all the Bernie stuff. And Adam McKay flat out said, we need to stop electing people who take money from the jerks that I was displaying in my movie.
Yeah.
The big banks, the big money. And I thought that was very poignant.
I totally agree. And I liked how that movie showed just the struggles of American life after the big crash. It's like you can just see how many families it affected, and it really just encapsulated both viewpoints. Like, you saw the other side where they discovered you know, what was going on before it was about to happen to millions of people, and then you just see the fallout. And I really thought that was another great film. But Spotlight did an amazing thing as well, which really highlighted, you know, the art of investigative journalism, which I'm very fond of. I took a class, you know, in college, and I thought, wow, this is such a tough job for anybody to be a part of, because you have to just dig and dig for such a long period of time, not knowing if you're going to come up empty-handed. And when you do find something out, it's always just something that's so important and, you know, gratifying.
There were two things that really annoyed me about, or really made me angry, similar to The Big Short does, about real life, but I happened to see it in the movie. One was in Spotlight, investigative journalists like that. John Oliver, when he was still on The Daily Show, he did a report where he was interviewing some of the best investigative journalists in the world, and this was about 3 years ago. And he was interviewing them, and he was talking to them about, like, what are you working on right now? And they were talking about a story that was like 3 years old. Right. That's not even important. And he was like, wait, what? And then he was like, who are you doing this for? And he was like, and they were like, The Newsroom.
Wow.
The HBO show, The Newsroom.
Wow.
Because that's the only place an investigative journalist could get hired to do their work, is to investigate 3-4-year-old news stories for a scripted TV show.
Yep.
Fascinating.
It's a lot of work. Like, just hearing even the stories of my professors in the past who have done it for their line of work, and they just said it was one of the, you know, hardest things. And also, they have to be able to go confront the people and ask the difficult questions. And really, you know that a lot of people are going to lie when they're confronted with something that may be bad. So, I don't know. I just loved it, and I also love John Oliver. So shout out to you. You're great.
And I think the importance of the world of journalism, I'm glad that they are putting a spotlight on it, because it's a dying craft. I went to school. I graduated with a degree in broadcast journalism, and thank you. And the art of information gathering and whatnot, it's a lost craft, because now we're so fascinated by sensationalism and the Instagram and the Insta entertainment, right? I think it's important to highlight those kind of stories and the backstory that goes into such an industry.
So good, and like good products and things out there for all of us, so that it's not just what most of the news is, which is fairly quickly written articles. Like, it's called journalism, I hear a lot, where it's not even real journalism. It's just this one study came out, they released they gave a press release, reword the press release to make it sound like your own article. Yeah. And like, that's so many articles that I read every day.
Right.
It's all over the place. It's get out content, get out content, get out content. But there are people who risk their lives to put together great pieces of work. So
I completely agree.
A movie like Spotlight winning tonight hopefully changes the public perspective of what journalism is.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that's my big ideal.
And when you guys saw Michael Keaton get up at the end with the Spotlight crew, did you think a little bit of his loss last year from Birdman? Because I think that was a big thing. A lot of people, kept thinking, oh, this is his comeback story, as much as everyone wanted Eddie Redmayne to win. And so when I saw him up there, I sort of felt a little bit like, oh, good. Like, I'm glad to see him on the stage.
Yeah,
right
a little
now.
nostalgic, for
Michael Keaton's
sure.
back. Good for Michael Keaton. Like,
Yeah, he's great,
Keaton's a good
honestly.
like, he never fell from grace. He had a kid and was like, I'm going to go raise my kid, and I'll be back.
Yeah, and he keeps acting in great films, so I just have like the utmost respect for him. I see him evolve and just try so many different things, and that's really, awesome to watch as a viewer. So
the next
Happy for
segment,
him.
well, there was a commercial, and then the segment after that was one of my favorite, which was Chris Rock setting up, if you're a black actor, just getting an opportunity to be in a movie can be a struggle. And then we get Whoopi Goldberg standing behind Jennifer Lawrence in that mop scene. By the way, that scene was completely unnecessary in Joy. I hated Joy. I've been fairly public about this on Twitter.
You have been very passionate about your disdain for Joy.
I know.
The title of it is Joy, and you just hate.
He hates Joy. How can
I
he?
hate Joy. But Whoopi Goldberg points a lot of the stuff out, and then Whoopi Goldberg just mopping up behind. And then we have Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant, but instead of the bear, it's Leslie Jones. This was great.
I know. Even the bear was sitting off in the corner, though. I was like waiting for him. I'm like, oh, if he gets a snub, he should just run on up there and take it.
And then we had Tracy Morgan as the Danish girl.
Oh, that was
hilarious.
too much.
It's just Tracy Morgan in a dress.
Eating a Danish.
I'm the Danish girl.
Classic Tracy Morgan. Classic Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan's the kind of comedian you really don't need a lot of content and complexities to his joke.
You're
Just
so
let
right.
him be him, and it's funny.
And he'll take the cake every time, yeah.
Or the Danish.
And then the fourth one, because these other three were green screened into the regular movie, where this fourth one, they got, speaking of the newsroom, they got Kirsten Wiig and then Jeff Daniels, who was from the newsroom, and Chris Rock to just film an original scene that was in the universe of The Martian. And I thought this one was just priceless.
Yeah.
I know, they had good little skits there. I was enjoying them. I thought that was a nice little comedic relief in between as well. So I'm like, it really helped the show move along.
And after that was Stacey Dash. We covered it.
Moving on.
Please just jump off a bridge.
I have to say, I missed that great montage scene, and I can't wait to go back. I was covering the Night of 100 Stars Oscar party, so I was on the red carpet there. And one of the interesting things was Diane Ladd, who was in Joy, she played Joy's grandmother, was there, and she was talking about how a lot of times now what we're seeing with the nominations, and I think we've all probably talked about this a little bit, even with The Martian being called a comedy at the Golden Globes, is that there's a lot of jockeying for position in terms of, okay, well, I have a better chance in this category or that category. And she was talking about how a lot of times now we see some people getting bumped out of the nomination process because what happens is other actors get put into a category that maybe isn't quite the right fit. So I think that's really interesting. I think that she was thinking in terms of probably Alicia Vikander, who was really a star of The Danish Girl and who got put in that supporting actress role, which definitely gave her an edge up. And I thought she was brilliant and I loved her. But I thought it was a really interesting commentary from Diane Ladd, who's clearly been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah, veteran in the industry.
Real quick, I'm just a couple shout outs from the chat. Jonas Tiger, Andrew Schroeder. I'm just picking random names. Sean Gartland. Shout out.
Thanks for chatting, guys.
Two Chain, T-O-O. That's
2 Chainz.
It's original. Some quick shout outs. I'm going to try my best to keep track of the chat and this rundown. Right off of the Stacey Dash awkwardness, we got Sarah Silverman. And I thought this was
great, yeah.
This was perfect. Because she did her two sentence copy and then just started saying whatever she felt.
Like improving and totally saying whatever.
Saying exactly.
I love how she owns up to that, though. She's like, yeah, I pretty much come out here and I say whatever the hell I want. I'm like, you certainly do, girl. That's your style. And we know for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think people identify with that. She's like, regular.
Yeah.
She's like an everyday girl.
Yes, exactly. Very
then-
relatable.
And she just she's reached that point where people, because there's a lot of people who say like, oh, well, you can't be this, you can't be that, you can't be this. She became such a genuine person for years that she can be in Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
And still change nothing about who she is outside of the voice she happens to be, of that of a little girl who, by the way, like fits her character perfectly. And then, sorry.
I was going to say, too, I just think it's interesting also with Sarah Silverman because there was a lot of talk that she might wind up nominated this year for her role. And now I'm drawing a blank on what movie that was. But there was a lot of talk that she was phenomenal. And so I think it's great to see the comedian that we can sort of, I guess, like with The Big Short and turning Adam McKay into, look, there's a serious side and these people have another side to them. Give a lot of other actors the chance when we don't get to see those other roles.
To switch genres.
I think we will eventually see her. I don't know if she'll get nominated because she doesn't seem like somebody who'll play the game. But I think we'll see her in something Oscar-worthy soon. If we haven't already. I haven't seen that movie.
The movie that we can't remember the name of.
So...
On demand tonight.
Yes.
We're like Sarah Silverman.
Best Actress in a Supporting Role.
Oh, I love her.
Alicia Vikander for The Danish Girl. What were the other nominees? I know you have it.
Oh, yes. Okay, let's see. Then we have Kate Winslet for Steve Jobs, Rachel McAdams, Spotlight, Rooney Mara, Carol, Jennifer Jason Leigh, The Hateful Eight.
I wanted Jennifer Jason Leigh so bad.
Wow. I mean, just the imagery of the scene they showed in the clip before announcing the people who were in the category. I was like, wow, the costume design first and foremost. But then her acting, she just went there and you could just tell she was totally immersed in her characterization. And I definitely respect that about her. She's a well-established actress who deserves a lot of credit. But Alicia definitely is an amazing actress as well. And I'm really happy for her.
Going into this, I remember I was here for Popcorn Talk doing the nominees. So, like, the Friday after the nominees got announced, this was about a month or so ago. I thought for sure, looking at that on paper, I was like, well, Kate Winslet.
Right.
Kate Winslet, and this will probably be the only love that Jobs will get. Because Michael Fassbender's obviously not going to win. It wasn't nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay in spite of being the Golden Globe winner for Best Adapted Screenplay. That's one of the snubs people are talking about. Is
interesting, yeah.
Not Kate Winslet, but like
the movie
Steve,
itself.
the movie itself being fairly good and then not getting recognized.
But there's always going to be something like that. I mean, with so many opinions, I mean, even just four of us at this table, I'm sure we could, we would be hard-pressed to find a movie that all four of us even love.
You're so
there
right.
are just so many opinions and so many types of movies.
Yeah, and I think it's hard with films that are based on somebody that we know so well, like we know Steve Jobs so well. Either people knock it out of the park or we just don't care, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's tough to play that kind of role. I love those type of movies. I love the biopics, as they say. I love those, but not everybody feels them.
And I actually liked that one way more than I liked the Ashton Kutcher one.
I didn't see that one because Ashton Kutcher was in it.
That's fair. But like,
no, I can't.
But the writing of Steve Jobs was just so incredible. And that's I knew I was forgetting something when we were on the Screenplay Award. The Screenplay Award, where I was like, I'm forgetting something I should be talking about. And it was Steve Jobs. It was Steve Jobs, Aaron Sorkin, just masterful. Another guy who doesn't care if he wins at this point.
Yeah.
But he should have at least been nominated. Now we're to costume design. Who did everybody? I don't know if everybody plays the Oscar pools. Who did everybody have for this?
Let's hear the nominees.
So the nominees were Carol, Cinderella, The Danish Girl, Mad Max Fury Road, and The Revenant.
I had Mad Max, but I liked Cinderella. Cinderella did a great job. Mad Max wins, and then Jenny Beatham wins, and she comes out dressed like she would have dressed yesterday. Like I don't think she was just authentic. Like I don't think she dressed up for this award ceremony at all. She just comes out leather jacket, scarves.
It seemed themed to me. I was digging it. I'm like, I'm feeling the Mad Max vibes over here. So
run with it.
Yeah.
Stay in character.
Just the theme.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure she was one of the people in the car. Like, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure Jenny Beatham was in the film.
Interesting. We'll have to check for her.
My whole thing about Cinderella, we already know what the costumes are for that movie.
Glass slippers.
It's been done so many times. It's like, hell, how can you expand upon it? I was never convinced it was going to win.
That's fair.
I had thoughts it was going to be Mad Max for that category, just because the imagery of that film and just like the teeth they had here, just everything from the face down, even to their clothing. It was just totally in the theme of the movie, and it seemed very unique, and they stuck with it. So I thought they deserved that one.
The betting markets had Mad Max as well.
Yep, I knew it.
I gotta start reading these betting magazines.
I'll send you some links. You'll get lost.
Please do.
Also, production design, Mad Max again. That's for the production designer Colin Gibson, set decoration Lisa Thompson. they come up, Mad Max looks like it's going to sweep a little.
Oh yeah,
Because the award
it swept all right.
the award for best makeup and hairstyling, Mad Max again in a nomination, an award that didn't have 5 nominees.
Yeah.
There were 3, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Mad Max Fury Road, the 100-year-old man who jumped out his window, and his name was Bill, and our title's too long, and The Revenant.
Yep.
Those were the 3, which I said this in the nomination special. I think that's really rough at any point when you don't nominate 5 movies. Like, you're claiming that of all of cinema, only 3, not 5
Qualified,
movies.
yeah.
We're even deserving.
I see your point, but then on the flip side, it's like, if they're so superior, why put in 2 extra? You know what I mean? It's like you have a wedding and you know who you want there. Don't invite Uncle Dave and Aunt Mary. You haven't seen them in years just to say that they're going to be there and we have an even number of people.
Best analogy
you know what
ever.
I mean? Sometimes it's unnecessary.
Although weddings aren't for the bride and groom, they're for that family.
True.
Similar to funerals.
Obviously, I'm not married. I'm just saying.
But no, you're right.
I have to say, though, for production design, and they weren't nominated, but I thought that the Danish Girl, the sets were gorgeous. And I also thought that they did such a nice job when we saw the transition of the character becoming Lily. That's how the sets also changed and became more opulent in France as well. So I thought they did such a nice job with that design that, of course, I think, there are so many sets to look at. I love that in particular, and I've commented about the sets tonight, but I'm disappointed in that regard that Danish Girl didn't win.
But also speaking to that, the Danish Girl wasn't even nominated for best makeup, and that a lot of that fell on the makeup.
Right.
And they didn't deem it worthy of. This isn't the We Hate Oscars show, I swear.
It's just interesting how
like you get caught up in
things,
some of these things, nuts and bolts wise. Now we're up for best cinematography. That went to Emmanuel Lubezki for The Revenant. Who else? I believe Mad Max was nominated.
They had Carol, The Hateful Eight, Mad Max, The Revenant, and Sicario.
I really wanted Hateful Eight for this.
Yeah?
Why?
They shot in a almost dead format. They shot in 70 millimeter, and then they had to spend, I think, $100,000 a theater all across the country to do a roadshow version so everyone can see it in the large format they actually shot it in.
Yeah.
And as a guy who used to work at the ArcLight Hollywood and is a bit of a cinema nerd, the Cinerama Dome is one of the few standing places that ever did play 70 millimeter. It was the originator of 70 millimeter.
Wow.
Or Panorama Vision, or whatever you would call it. And that movie was so beautiful. The on paper argument would be, let's shoot it in 70 millimeter, but let's shoot the majority of it in one room. Like, on paper, you could make that argument, but that movie was just so good, and the cinematography was so good. That said, The Revenant, man, that one, they would literally spend thousands of dollars to fly to a location, to go, no, light's not right, and then don't shoot anything that day.
Right.
Wow.
Or they would wait until they had the right lighting.
They'd wait all day for the magic hour. That's just the
lighting is so
cinematographer.
important.
Isn't that a luxury, though, when you have the budget to do
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Isn't that a
Absolutely.
luxury?
Well, that's when you're in Naruto and you're coming off Birdman and you have Leonardo DiCaprio in tow. You get a blank check. And some directors don't do very good with that blank check. Christopher Nolan, I'm outspoken on my dislike for Dark Knight Rises versus The Dark Knight because he had a blank check. Like, some directors aren't great with a blank check, some directors are. And Naruto has proved that he's. I thought I mispronounced that. I was like, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's one of those directors that he has the vision.
Right.
And he'll name a number. And you either can afford that number or you can't. So
I know if you get a blank check, you're going to take advantage of it.
I think yes and no. I mean, he was over budget and he did a lot. I mean, they also had the unions coming after them for grievance because the conditions were so
they
bad.
had people quitting every week. Like,
I'm getting fired both. I mean, but I think it was shot so beautifully, definitely. But I also think they went for such epic scenes of grandeur that it was a little over the top, and it took me out of the movie at times because I thought, like, okay, now we're looking at the treetops again. Like, I get it. Leonardo DiCaprio is connected to the trees. We made that analogy. I've seen the treetops. So I think it was beautifully done, but I also think there was that element of maybe going just a tad too far.
I understand. Yeah, they had a lot of cool imagery. I felt like, and the shots were awesome, especially the bear scene. I felt like that was super captivating and caught everybody's attention. And I don't know, I thought both Leonardo and Tom Hardy did a great job and really just helped even with the whole cinematography aspect. I don't know, really completed the whole thing and made it what it was.
Oh, it was definitely one of the best pictures of the year. The cinematography is what put it over the top for that. Also, on paper, what made me excited about this was, do we all remember Inglourious Bastards?
Yes.
Where Brad Pitt's character is like, I'm a descendant of the mountain man Jim Bridger.
Yes.
Jim Bridger's an actual guy, and it's Leonardo DiCaprio's character from this
Wow.
movie. That, like, he's an American folk hero who went on like 4 or 5 other adventures after The Revenant.
The more you know.
I know, right?
So, like, to hear that name and then know that story, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
Great.
it brings it all together.
I hope someone doesn't. I hope I'm not dead wrong and somebody.
Somebody will call you out.
I don't remember if that was the real life character's name, but you're right. I mean, he's based on a real guy, and there's a lot of mythology.
So now we're to film editing. Mad Max Fury Road on its overall sweep. Mad Max won. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mad Max won more Oscars tonight than any other film.
I heard Mad Max a lot.
All them Aussies, man. Margaret Sixel wins for Mad Max. What else was nominated? I know it was Star Wars.
Let's see. Star Wars.
Sorry. We will keep speaking.
It's
Sound
interesting
editing?
the technical categories.
Yeah.
Sound editing, correct?
No, editing.
No, film editing.
Film editing. Film editing. Sorry,
This is where we get the
so
Japanese
many
guys.
So
categories.
sorry.
Okay, so now we've got The Big Short, Mad Max, Fury Road, The Revenant, Spotlight, and Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
A lot of people were saying Star Wars.
Yeah?
Everybody was saying Star Wars.
Yeah, I could see that.
It was a well-edited film. Also, The Big Short was an incredibly well-edited film because you had that pacing was so perfect to actually make us care about something as boring as like reverse mortgages and loan swaps and default loan swap. Like, to make that interesting visually took a lot of work. So I thought that was one of the contenders. Mad Max as well. Like, we haven't praised Mad Max enough because
They clearly did well.
Yeah, the Oscars did it for us. The Academy praised it for us, and I'm actually really excited that it's winning all these awards because I watched it on like a midnight screening in the middle of the summer. Like, it was a well-made popcorn flick. That they're starting to nominate. They're starting to nominate and recognize movies that are universally good.
Yeah.
Is what excites me about Mad Max.
I know, it's cool because The Revenant received 12 nominations tonight and Mad Max received 10. So that's a lot already on its own.
Yeah.
And to take, more than half of your nominations home is like a huge feat in itself. And shout out to the film editors because literally editing anything, like a clip, even a reel, like for 5-minute reel, it literally takes like up to 3 hours, when you originally start. And I can't imagine what it would take, for a team to produce a feature film and to really knock it out of the park. That's incredible.
That's what I always think about. Like, that movie was pretty long. I mean, the editing process and that, you have to have a lot of skill. A lot of skill and a lot of attention to detail.
Great team, too, yeah.
I went to a Q&A for Star Wars, and the editors are actually, they're 2 women who have worked with J.J. Abrams since like the Alias days. And it was very interesting because they were talking about how they would each take sections of the movie and then go to each other and say, okay, I'm doing this. Does J.J. want those sort of old-fashioned wipes? Are we doing that? And it's interesting to see 2 people editing a movie like that and that they've been doing it for such a long time that they can do it. But frequently you don't get that because it's one person's vision, one person with the director. And it's such a technical skill. So I think just for that's amazing that there were 2 of them who could create such a seamless movie together.
Right. And it's all about the editing. I feel like you can totally change the dynamic and the tone of a scene just by the way you put 2 clips together and not doing any jump cuts or things like that. So you have to be so, on it and very detail oriented and you just have to have the vision. So I feel like these people are obviously very talented. So kudos.
Cool. So speaking of editing, sound mixing, both Mad Max Fury Road. Historically, both of these are nominated to the same film. They're awarded to the same film. I beat somebody out on an Oscar pool with that information because somebody thought it would be Mad Max for one and then Revenant for another, and I'm like, that's not how this works. You win both or none.
The history of the Oscars typically
historically, sound editing will always win sound mixing because it's such a similar job.
That helps me with my poll for next year. I just want to know,
Although, speaking of polls for next year, visual effects.
Okay.
Star Wars was favorited pretty heavily to win this category.
Yeah.
And how can it not be favorited, right?
Because it only had like 4 nominations.
I mean, that was the one category and whatnot that I just felt like so confident.
Yeah.
Star Wars winning.
Yeah. because it's the top grossing film of the year.
Right.
It's
Everybody went
nominated
to
for
see
like
it.
4 or 5 things.
Yeah.
And it definitely fits in there. What else was nominated?
So they had Star Wars: The Force Awakens, The Revenant, The Martian, Mad Max: Fury Road, and Ex Machina. And of course,
Ex Machina wins.
Yes.
Breaking everybody's bracket.
That was my second choice, though. If it wasn't going to be Star Wars, I mean, the visual effects in that movie were awesome, and they really made her come to life, I feel like, Alicia's character. So
Yeah.
they did a
it
great
was
job.
So good.
Yeah, it reminded me of her a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit of her vibes in this movie, but I really liked the way that they turned it. It was like a dark film that kind of showed how technology is affecting us, and maybe there is a little consciousness going on there with it. So, but, you know, I think they did a great job, everything visually.
So I'll just kind of run through it. Animated short film. Has anyone seen any of the animated short films?
Oh, okay. Yes, I did.
Okay.
Did you? Nice.
Hang on. The one from The Good Dinosaur. Hang on.
right.
Oh, okay.
What was that
Like,
one called?
Was that Sanjay's?
Yes, Sanjay's. That was
no, wait,
so
Sanjay
good.
was from Inside Out.
Was
Wasn't
it?
he?
No.
Well,
Wasn't
they
the
did it
Sanjay one
as
from
well in the
Inside Out?
beginning of The Good Dinosaur, just because that's how I saw it.
But he was a character from Inside Out, so they played him in front of the Good Dinosaur.
Which was a great movie.
because
a tearjerker.
the volcano one was in front of Inside Out.
Thank you. Yes,
that
okay.
one. That
I was
one
like, I
wasn't
know I've
nominated.
seen
Yeah,
these.
like-
Thank you for remembering which one it was. But yes, that was the one. I just thought it was the cutest little clip. And I enjoy those so much before the movies. Like, I'll sit there and
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I'm just watching this. And then I'll realize it's not even the movie I
Yes.
paid for.
Yeah, I didn't have a favor with that one. I just watched it.
That's a movie.
Bear Story 1.
Yeah.
Everyone favorited Sanjay's mainly because it played in front of a Pixar movie.
Yep.
Because I'm pretty on top of these things. I haven't seen most of these. I haven't seen most of these shorts.
And I have to say, I was kind of disappointed in the Sanjay one, to be honest. And I love those Pixar shorts normally. I mean, they're brilliant. Like you
Yes.
said, you can watch them and think you are watching the movie.
Yes.
And they're tearjerkers and wonderful. And I don't know, Sanjay just didn't do it for me. And
No.
so I was a little disappointed
Yes.
with it.
Oh, I thought it was so cute. It was just like such a way for the father and the son to bond. And until he understood his heritage, then he appreciated it. So I thought, like, I don't know, I love the message of that one. But it reminded me of back in the day, what is that movie with the ants? An Ant's Life? The Ant's Life?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
Oh, Bug's Life?
The Bug's Life, thank you.
yeah.
There we go. And there's the cutest little short in the beginning with Grandpa playing a chess game. And I don't know, that one probably won back in the day. But I have a huge appreciation for those little short animated films.
Speaking of animated films,
Yes.
Best Animated Feature Film, there were 5 nominees.
Wow.
Wait,
Yep.
now was this is where Buzz and Woody
Yes.
and now first of all, can I just say this? I officially feel old. Toy Story came out, 20 years ago.
Yep.
I
crazy.
officially feel old.
I know, same.
Like 4
went-
years ago for me, but yeah.
I went and poured a glass of
I already
wine as
feel
soon as
old.
I heard Buzz and Woody talking about, oh, it's been 20 years since we met. I was like, no, give me another glass. This is wrong.
There was a tiny bit about this I found just hysterical, and just perfect Pixar to a T, which is Buzz and Woody are toys that are supposed to like drop dead or drop motionless when a person walks by, so they don't see them, which they do on screen when Inside Out wins and everyone from Inside Out walks up. And then I made a comment. I was like, wait, but they can do that in front of cameras? And then I really thought about it, and I was like, canon-wise, that makes perfect sense within Toy Story. That they actually shot a movie. They actually shot a movie with these toys that can become animated, but not in front of people.
Right.
So all the toys shot the movie, essentially.
I love this. Is so meta.
I'm getting into a double Pixar theory.
You went really deep with that, but I appreciate it. I
My
appreciate
brain
it.
is trying to process all that.
Because for the regular folks out there, it went smooth over our head. It went over our head.
No, but yeah. It's called the Pixar theory. It goes even deeper.
Wow.
That all the Pixar movies exist in one universe,
Nice.
and that the timeline is different than. Obviously, Monsters Inc. is toward the end.
I need to get up
Wow.
on my Wikipedia.
That's
Your
it's-
Stevepedia.
It's a black hole. It's a black hole that takes up all your time.
I just want to say though, I loved Inside Out. Like that movie spoke to me so much. I thought it was fabulous. I'm so glad that they won.
I am too. I actually every year I like to go through the list of movies, like by box office, that weren't remakes or based on other material. And then have that top 10 of the year, and Inside Out was number 1. And then it was a bunch of movies that were normally in like the top 50 otherwise. But Inside Out was the #1 grossing original film of 2015.
Wow.
I honestly think it should have been Best Picture nominee, but
I agree.
they have weird rules about animation, or they don't vote for animation.
Well, it's been ever since they added this category that now we don't get to see animated movies make it in, and I agree. I mean, these themes, Pixar always hits the tearjerker themes. I mean, let's face it. I mean, even
They're
in
pros at that.
they are pros. But these themes spoke to me so much. I mean, I was definitely crying in that movie. I admit it.
And then they have the now they've gone from 5 to up to 10.
Right.
Mainly the first year they did that, they nominated Toy Story 3 for Best Picture. And it was a clear, like the 10 rule was a clear reason of movies like The Dark Knight that were good and critically acclaimed and also made a whole bunch of money. You can nominate them and make make more people want to watch your show.
Right.
Chris Rock introduces Kevin Hart as next year's host.
Right.
That's the hopes.
Kevin Hart has a lot of fun and introduces The Weeknd. Is that a wig? Is that a wig on The Weeknd?
No, that's his real hair. That's his real hair.
That's his style, for sure.
Friday to Sunday, he's an interesting character. I still don't believe this whole theory that he's the next Michael Jackson. You guys, he's not the next Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I have like never even heard of this guy or this group, and when you're talking about Monday to Sunday, I'm thinking a work week. I don't know
The Weeknd?
The Weeknd.
His name is The Weeknd, right?
Yeah.
I just call him Friday to Sunday just because.
Oh, that's a
'cause
nickname.
that's what The Weeknd is.
That was throwing me.
Yeah.
If he's the next Michael Jackson wouldn't have needed like 12 aerialists.
Yeah, Michael Jackson would have owned that moment. He didn't need all of that extra. I mean, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Wonderful.
But Weeknd, we love you, but you're not the next MJ.
Yeah, his lyrics are a lot more sexualized. Like, I feel like he's a lot more edgy than Michael Jackson is as far as his music goes. Like, especially the things that I've heard with Drake in the past as well. Like, they go in. So his style's a lot different, but his voice is absolutely amazing. And I mean, the moment I first heard his voice, before he even got famous, I was like, oh, this guy's going to be huge. And he's got some great songs for sure. So he did a good job tonight.
Cool. Yeah.
You guys like the performance?
Yeah.
I think it was. I thought it was a great visual performance.
There we go. Yeah, they had the contortionists.
The contortionist, the I call them fly girls, but I'm sure the
aerialists. Yeah.
I think we should start calling them fly girls. I think we should make that a thing now. So best supporting actor.
Oh yeah.
Anyone who follows me or who's listened to me on any podcast is well aware I'm from Philadelphia. Grew up on the Rocky films. And believe Sylvester Stallone was robbed in 1976. And the Oscars are known for giving people make-up Oscars. Some would argue Leo got one tonight. Although he did a great job, he always does a great job. And many people were saying Stallone was going to win tonight for playing Rocky Balboa in 1976.
Right.
Including myself. Because his performance in Creed was wonderful, but my one critique was if you play a guy who has cancer and goes through chemotherapy, you shave your head. He didn't shave his head, he put on a hat.
Yeah. Yeah, but
His
some
performance
people
was
do
great.
cover it up. I feel like it may be like a transition. So, I mean, maybe that was their thought behind it, but I see what you're saying because it does happen. It's kind of inevitable with chemotherapy drugs and stuff like that. So.
That he was at that stage, his character was at that stage where his hair would have fallen out. And Stallone just put on a hat because... And I don't blame him. He's at that age where I think if you cut your hair, it might not ever grow back.
Yeah.
I'm at that age too.
Oh gosh, it's a real thing.
So you read that, like Sylvester Stallone said, "I'm not cutting my hair."
Well, no, I saw it in the movie.
Gotcha.
It's just his theory.
The character was at a place in chemotherapy where his hair would have fallen out, and Sylvester Stallone, the actor, just kept a hat on.
Gotcha.
But they did have like jaundice and the lighter skin, so I felt like they did show him.
And I think he did a wonderful job in this one, playing a character that he wrote and crafted across 6 movies.
Wow, yeah.
And the Oscar historically being almost a career award more than the one role you got. I thought for sure Stallone was going to win this.
I know, and they were even saying that it was going to be like a huge thing because no actor, or only a few actors, I'm not sure if there's none or a few, but have won an award for the same character within like a 30-year period.
Or
so that would have been
nominated.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would have been monumental.
He's monumental just for being nominated for playing the same character within I think 76, so it would have been a 40-year
Totally.
A 40-year difference.
And I thought he was the front runner because there's been so much love for him and for the Rocky movies.
Yes.
But I do have to admit, when Mark Rylance's name was called, I was thrilled because I was really rooting for him. I thought he made Bridge of Spies. His performance was so understated and beautiful, and he's such a good actor. He has a Tony Award. He's amazing. And I thought he didn't have a hope, so I was really excited when I heard his name.
I know, and against such tough competition, Christian Bale for The Big Short, Tom Hardy, The Revenant, Mark Ruffalo, Spotlight, and Sylvester Stallone for Creed. So, yeah, that's a tough competition right there.
And Mark Ruffalo was another guy where I was like, he could win that.
Yep.
Also,
I like Mark Ruffalo. I was pulling for him. I felt like Sylvester would have won, but I was pulling for Mark Ruffalo.
Or Jacob Tremblay, who I'm learning now a lot of Oscar voters didn't know where to nominate him. Because was he Best Supporting Actor, supporting Brie Larson, or was he Best Actor because he was the second
lead,
he was the second the first billed male.
Right.
Which is difficult, sort of like what we mentioned earlier with Dan Mad talking about where do people go. It is a really tricky category. I will say, too, for Creed, which I thought was really artfully done and beautifully made, if I was going to give a nomination to any one of the three main people, and the main people being director or the two main actors, I think it should have gone to the director. I thought this movie was so artfully done from the direction that he was the one who deserved the nomination. And yes, I think Sylvester Stallone got the "We Love You" type of nomination, but it should have gone for direction.
And we're kind of admitting that in '76 you were the better choice.
Yeah, you maybe
shout out to
won.
Ryan Coogler. You know, he boycotted tonight. He actually put on an event in Flint, Michigan for the Flint, Michigan water crisis. So, you know, I think he wanted to make sure that he had a presence tonight, but doing something good and for others. So, shout out to Ryan.
Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler graduated film school the same year I graduated film school.
Really?
My mother brings it up a lot.
And I think it's interesting, too, because he just worked with Michael B. Jordan also. So it's sort of the same, like we've seen with David O. Russell, using the same actors again. I'm really curious to see what we're going to get from this pair next, because they clearly collaborate really nicely together.
Creed 2.
Michael Bay Jordan.
I said Michael B.
Yeah, B stands for Bay.
I did not know that.
No,
my bad.
I knew where you're going with that.
My bad.
Her bad. He calls Bay.
My bad.
I was like, oh, listen.
That's what Twitter calls Michael B. Jordan, Michael Bay Jordan, because everybody's Bay in their head.
I buy that.
Wait, is Bay boyfriend? What is Bay?
Bay is like babe without the
It's an acronym. It's an acronym for before anyone else, and it means someone above. Yeah, I love him most. He's above. He's above everything.
Oh, okay.
The more you know.
I was going to say, you can learn about the Oscars and learn some technical mumbo jumbo.
Also, I think what's up next for them is Creed 2, and it's the guy who beat him in that sparring match in the first act of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was like ranked number 3, and then he won Michael B. Jordan's car. Louis C.K. is out. Love Louis C.K.
Yeah,
and Louis C.K. gets to talk about documentary Short.
Which was one of the most important speeches and introductions during the whole night, because he reminded us again, and I thought Kevin Hart had a wonderful intro as well. You know, it granted, if you're of color and you didn't get nominated, you still put your heart and soul into your work, so be proud of that. But what's his name?
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. made a very important point. These documentaries, these shorts, these are people who are putting their whole lives into something that's not going to make them a lot of money. And talking about how this is going to be the most, the fanciest thing in their home, this Oscar. I thought it was just very important because most of those people who are being nominated are millionaires, right? And they have discretionary money and unlimited budgets. This is where the passion really comes in.
You were so right.
Oh, like
absolutely. I thought so too when I heard that.
And I'm glad he made
beautiful
mentioned
point.
It. Yeah.
Whatchamacallit? He said everything perfectly. This was another category that was completely up in the air, and I sadly have not seen any of them.
I'll tell you this. The documentary shorts and the documentary categories were the most diverse categories of all of them. That's where I saw the most people of color and different ability levels and things of that nature.
Different backgrounds.
All different backgrounds.
Yeah.
That had the most diversity were the documentaries.
So
I feel like that's normally the case also because they're not just from here. So we automatically get a lot of international influence.
Right.
Also by nature, I would assume, of just what our, as an American, viewing, pleasure tends to be versus what other countries tend to watch.
Right.
So I think that probably influences it as well.
Well, in short subject, we in America we watch TV for that.
Yeah.
And like that's its own market. Whereas in other places, there aren't as many TV shows, and there's a lot more just short form content. which is short form content's very big in the world. It's not incredibly big here. Although YouTube, Netflix, Amazon, you can find
We're
anything.
all used to the binge watching over here.
Right, you can find it, but you don't normally go out of your way to say, I'm going to go watch all of the shorts at the movie theater today.
Yeah, or I'm just gonna turn on the BBC and just they're just gonna take me on a journey. Like, we don't trust our networks to do that. A Girl in the River, The Price of Forgiveness.
Yep.
I do not know this film.
That's the big winner, though.
Documentary feature goes to Amy.
Amy Winehouse.
I think we all knew that was going to be the winner.
I think that was brand recognition, honestly. If people aren't watching and they know Amy Winehouse, then check, that's my vote.
Yeah.
Right. She has such a compelling life story and a beautiful voice, and I love her music personally. So I thought this was just great because it showed artists like behind the scenes and just behind all the glamour and like the true struggle it takes to achieve your dreams while also facing addiction and things like that. So I thought it was a great documentary, and I'm super happy for her.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Amy.
R.I.P. We miss you, Amy.
I know.
The honorable mention has to go to Cartel Land, which was another good documentary.
You're right.
The Academy President, Cheryl Boone Isaacs, addresses the crowd, reiterates the Academy will take steps to diversify membership. Each of you is an ambassador who can influence others in the industry. It's not enough to listen and agree. We must take action. And now the award for Best Live Action Short Film. We're at that middling part of a bunch of the stuff most people haven't seen.
Right.
It went to The Stutterer. I got this one wrong.
Lost the poll with that.
I lost the poll before that. But what I did enjoy about this is this was the one that Jacob Tremblay and the gentleman from Beast of Donation, whose name is escaping me.
I'm going to say Lincoln something. There was a Lincoln in there? Did I make that up?
I'm not sure, but they were so
yes,
cute.
the two kids presented.
That's when Chris Rock brought out the little stepping stools.
Yeah.
The apple
Double
boxes.
crates, yeah.
Jacob Tremblay is, I've said this before, I think he's either going to be the next Leo, like the next Leonardo DiCaprio, like the next big thing, because he's so mature and handling all this so well.
Right.
Or he's going to be the next Lindsay Lohan, like the next public,
Whoa.
the next public.
Let's not put that on him.
Well, no, but by that I mean the next kid that we put too much on and that he's not ready for. Because I don't blame Lindsay Lohan for a lot of stuff as much as I'm like, well, if I grew up in the situation Lindsay Lohan grew up in,
Right, it's hard.
it's actually, it would speak more to my luck for me to not turn out like Lindsay Lohan. Like, very few don't turn out a complete mess.
Don't ever wish Lindsay Lohan on anybody else, though. That is
I'm not wishing it on him. I'm saying that's the spectrum.
No,
it's
I feel
Lindsay
you.
Lohan to Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's going to fall somewhere in that spectrum.
Let's just pray for Leo.
Anyway, let's pray for the middle. Let's pray for Haley Joel Osment. That's a good middle.
Wasn't he arrested for something drunken?
Let's pray for...
If we're praying for the middle, I think we need, like, Hillary Duff.
Yes.
She's had a nice, calm, normal life.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hillary Duff is the
Or
five.
Mara Wilson. Oh my gosh, she was so cute. Remember her from Miracle on 34th Street, the remake?
Okay.
She was in
Or
Matilda.
Dakota
And she
Fanning.
took some time off.
We know a
and-
lot of people in the middle. Jacob Tremblay.
Hang in there.
We all right,
We
Jacob.
love you. We just want the best for you.
Yes.
Best foreign language film goes to Son of Saul. I'm going to kind of go through all that. Joe Biden's here. Good to
With
see
us
him.
He showed
tonight?
up.
Good old Joe.
No, Joe Biden.
Come on in, Joe.
Crazy Uncle Joe. And he was like, I'm the least qualified man here tonight. And he assures everyone, applause winds down. Lady Gaga does a performance of Till It Happens to You. From The Hunting Ground, the film the award I thought she'd get the award. That did not happen.
She had a lot of celebrities crying too. I saw at the end of her performance, everybody seemed very moved, and she definitely is a very animated performer and very talented, can play the piano and sing and belt her heart out, so she brings it.
She's come into her own also, I feel like, so much lately. She used to be a joke with the meat dress, and there was always something so over the top. And now lately, since that beautiful tribute to Julie Andrews, which I think was about a year ago now, we've seen, whoa, wait a minute, she's more than just a meat dress.
Yeah.
And she's proving herself, and I feel like we're going to continue to see more from her. But that said, I think, Steve, you are not a Lady Gaga fan, am I right?
Not
Were you the one who said that?
I'm not a fan of the type of music she does to begin with. I'm actually a big fan of her as an artist in the sense that she was an observer at one point and figured out that she was just a regular musician, singer, songwriter.
Right.
As
I've
an
heard about
observer,
that.
and she realized that like people like her with her skill set are a dime a dozen. And what she learned is that if I become
the persona.
Yeah, a more popularly accepted Marilyn Manson. Is because that's what she became. Like, I need to become scary and artsy and.
It's like everybody's Sasha Fierce. I feel like for Beyonce. You know what I mean? You have to have your alter ego and like bring it. Otherwise, people are not going to be as interested. I mean, some people rely on that, but then I feel others don't. Like Sam Smith doesn't really have to turn on anything. But maybe that's a guy-girl thing. I'm not even really sure. But
that might,
no, maybe not though, because then I'm thinking Michael Jackson did all these theatrical elements as well. So
you have to have your persona, and that's actually what everyone's buying, not just your music.
Right.
And that's not to devalue anyone's music, but I think what she learned by observing is that most people who do music are really good at music. And there's a lot of other elements to getting to the top. She figured that out, and I respect her for that. I actually just don't like much of what she does.
She's evolved so much to me, though, because I didn't like her at first so much because of the meat dresses. But now it's gotten to the point when I see Lady Gaga, I refer to her as Stephanie. I refer to her. I get so emotional. I get so proud of her because I'm like, that is Stephanie being her true self and being the true performer that she is. I mean, when she performed at the Super Bowl for the national anthem tonight during the Grammys, I'm like, go ahead, Stephanie. You do your thing.
Do your thing, exactly.
And I do like that she's transitioning into people will just accept me as an artist now because they already bought into the persona. I think we're all going to cover the Grammys next year. I feel like we have a lot of insight on music as a business and art. Speaking of music, Best Original Score.
Oh, so happy about this one.
Me too. Because Ennio Morricone, or Morricone, it's one of those two. Someone will correct me.
I don't know the answer to that one.
Either which way, wins Best Original Score for The Hateful Eight. He's scored so many westerns, so many great films, never won an Academy Award. And he wins an Academy Award for The Hateful Eight. And he gets to come up there and just gets to come up there and just talk about it. And
a little validation.
It's a feel-good moment.
Yeah.
Definitely a feel-good moment.
Because he did The Good, the Bad, and Ugly, he did The Untouchables, he did Bugsy. Oh.
Wow, The Untouchables too, huh?
Yeah.
That's some good
stuff.
stuff.
Love this guy.
This was a career Oscar as well for him, I
yes.
think. And he was adorable going up there. I mean, you really just wanted to like go, yay! And there are always going to be people who don't win, and then you're always so happy for the one who does, and he made me feel happy.
And imagine going your whole life, essentially, because when you're a part of music scoring, I mean, you're giving your whole life to that. It's a craft. And to be at that point in your career, to have that kind of age behind you, and also something that you don't get any limelight for. You are scoring a production, so it's not like people know who you are. I'm glad that he had that moment.
Especially a film like a Tarantino film, where Tarantino likes, in the typical Weinstein, because Harvey Weinstein got mentioned a couple times, but in the typical Weinstein format, they put the director and the filmmaker out front to market the film.
Right.
Which could take away from the other craftsmen that worked with that director, but it worked great for him.
Yeah.
He's the only win for Hateful Eight tonight. Out of only 2 nominations.
Right. The Hateful Eight definitely did not get as much recognition as I think I'd say everyone overall expected, especially since Quentin Tarantino, typically, we see a lot from his films.
Right.
So after that, Best Director. Now, here's a pet peeve I have with the Oscars. I only had like 4.
4 or 5.
But one of them is that you nominate up to 10 movies for the best movie, but you only nominate 5 directors.
Right.
So what you're saying every year is that there are 3 movies that were great, but their director isn't the best.
Not so much, yeah. That's what they're kind of saying.
Like, no, your movie was great. It was one of the best of the year. You weren't. Kind of.
How is that even possible? In my mind, I feel like the director, I mean, just knowing production, he's really the vision of the movie. Or she, exactly. How could I forget us, right? But how can you have a great movie without a great director? That seems like it should be a joining kind of nomination.
Right, they're like leading the ship, the whole crew, the actors. So.
And that was the big outcry a few years ago with Argo and Ben Affleck. That, like, whoa, what happened here?
Yeah.
So this year it went for the 2nd year in a row to
Alejandro Inarritu.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Only the 3rd time in history, I believe, that it's been back to back like that.
And he was up against Adam McKay, who I early on thought he was going to win, because the Academy loves that story of someone like Adam McKay who makes, I don't want to say lowbrow comedies, but
High lowbrow.
high lowbrow comedy. Like someone like Adam McKay to make who usually makes high lowbrow comedies, to make just a legitimate Oscar contender. I thought it would be him. Was Spielberg nominated? I don't think Spielberg was nominated.
I don't think so.
He's got nothing to prove. He was one of
He has enough.
He was one of those 3 movies that they were just like, whatever.
Been there, done that.
But Inarritu wins Best Director. Historically, it's about 60% of the time. Whatever film wins Best Director wins Best Picture.
Not tonight.
Not tonight, but there
Yeah.
were still a couple other we have to talk about. Best Actress. Brie Larson, Room.
Yep.
So expected. And that, I felt like that was like, okay, great, I'm glad you won. Like, let's move on. We all want to know if Leo's going to
We
get
all
it.
want to know about Leo. We all.
Here we go.
That was probably the worst nomination for me, because I'm like, we've gotten this far and we all are here for the same thing. No offense, girl, but get your award. Let's get out of the way.
Although I do have to say that I thought if Brie didn't get it, Leo was going to be like really shaking in his shoes because, oh my God, the shoo-in didn't get it. What's up for me? So I was nervous.
Yeah, she was a top contender, and she is such a compelling actress. Like, everything I see her in, I become more and more impressed. And I feel like she's so young, but she really grasps such mature roles. And even her combination with Tremblay, you know, was so awesome. And I thought it was so cute that when she won, she like gave him a little high five. I'm like, share that moment. Like, that's how humble she is, and she obviously worked very hard. So I thought that she was a shoo-in though too, but she was up against Cate Blanchett, Jennifer Lawrence, Charlotte Rampling, and Saoirse Ronan.
Not Sarah Weiss?
Yeah,
We were talking about this earlier, that everyone gets tripped up on her name, Saoirse Ronan, who starred in Brooklyn and The Lovely Bones and Atonement. It's actually pronounced Saoirse.
yeah, it looks like Saoirse. That's what I honestly thought it was originally.
The more you know.
Yeah, the more you know.
This should be our
Beautiful
theme
name.
song.
But they were all. But at this level, and like at the Academy level, they're all amazing.
Yes.
They're all
Exactly.
great. They all, like, any of them could win. Where it's
Right.
like, no, that was probably the best. It's, you know, I liked Brie Larson in Room. Room spoke about a lot, and like is a worthy Best Picture nominee as well. But she was a little overshadowed in specifically our viewing station, because we were all looking at the clock and they were running low on time. And I didn't mention the Girl Scout cookies bit.
Which was hilarious.
Priceless.
That was good.
Hilarious.
So if they raised $60,000,
Yeah.
65.
Yeah, it was
$65,000.
$65,243.
I meant to do this math. 65,000 divided by $2.50.
How long has it been since you've bought boxes of cookies? Because they are $5 each,
Yeah,
I think.
They're not
Yeah,
2 for
they're
$5?
expensive.
Two
I'm
for
like, if I don't
$5?
have
I wish.
cash, yeah.
You sure?
Oh, yeah.
I just
Maybe
last
there's
week
a-
was
just
2 for
shook me
$5.
down this
cookies.
weekend. They're $5.
All right,
I'm
so-
always devastated when I don't have a 5. I'm like, no.
Okay, so 50,000 boxes of cookies. No? Numbers.
I can't do the
30,000
math.
boxes. 30,000 boxes of cookies. We're going to move on. So, Best Actor. As it's very clear, I frequent sports books when it comes to stuff like this. Leonardo DiCaprio was a 17-1 favorite
Wow.
to win this.
Can't bet a bit. You can't bet against that.
You can't.
can't.
But you can't bet for that either. You'd have to bet the house to win the furniture. On a 17-1,
Right.
like it's
The odds are
negative.
too good.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you would have to bet $1,700 to win $1,700.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Leo has that cash, though.
He does.
I hope you bet on himself.
Why not? There's a lot of IP blocking you have to do to actually bet on those sites. But what I found interesting in our viewing situation, there were about 10 or 20 hosts all going through all while we go through the nominees, and just like everyone was so tense. Like, is he gonna win? Is he gonna win? Never in my life seen people so tense and unsure about a 17-1 favorite.
Right.
You just never
Because
know.
you never know.
You never
It's
know.
Leo, and it's the Oscars.
Right, and it hasn't happened thus far, which I feel is already a shock to so many people. So it was like, okay, maybe one more year they might not do it. But a lot of people were saying if he doesn't get it this year, then he's never going to get one. So I felt like
Yeah.
they have to give this man an Oscar, please.
And we're all tense because we're looking at Leonardo DiCaprio, and we're all in the same kind of position where we're young and up and coming, and this, that, and the third. It's like, if he doesn't win, it almost hurts your spirit and your hope that you'll ever be celebrated for your hard work.
Right.
If Leo can't get it, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If Leo can't get it, so for me, that's what it was about. I wanted to see Leonardo DiCaprio get it just to restore my faith.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Just to restore my faith.
You took it really personally. That's really interesting how you internalized the win.
I mean, if he didn't get it, what does that say to the rest of us? All your hard work is for nothing?
Well, although I think if he never got an Oscar, because I've said this about him before this year when he actually won an Oscar, and he would keep losing. Like, he would keep getting nominated but not get an Oscar. I always said he's still someone to look up to and celebrate because he's clearly not doing it to win an Oscar. Because he isn't. He gets nominated and doesn't win. He's doing it because these are the films he wants to do. This is his voice.
This is his craft.
This is his voice as an artist. These are the roles he wants to take on and the things he wants to do. And he's one of the best actors of our time, and he's finally nominated and wins for The Revenant.
Yep.
Good for him.
And
Good
I have
for
to
him.
say, did you guys notice Eddie Redmayne's reaction, who I thought was brilliant in The Danish Girl and should have been a winner other than the fact that I was pulling for Leo, but he looked so happy when that name was called. So it made me feel good too, because obviously when you have a category where one person wins, the others go home empty-handed, and so you can't help but feel sad for them.
Right.
So when you see everyone else like that excited, it's a
standing
real feel-good
ovation in
moment.
the whole room.
Yeah,
I was
everybody
like,
got up.
they were all like, all right, let Leo have it.
Well,
like,
not
we'll
to,
wait.
not to mention, if you were those other four people, you don't want to be the person.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right?
like they
To
would have
win-
said probably this should be for Leo. I really
Or-
felt like that would have came up in the speech.
I don't think Bryan Cranston would say that.
Really?
I think Bryan Cranston would. I think Bryan Cranston would talk about all the importance of the Hollywood Blacklist and like what that film is, and like talking about like a career award for Bryan Cranston. That's what. And Trumbo was great and kind of underlooked this whole.
Right.
Underlooked,
Right, we didn't hear-
overlooked. Same
we didn't
same
hear much
difference.
about it at all.
That like he turned in a great performance, and like I could see Bryan Cranston of all people just Leo, you did great.
Yeah, maybe a little shout out at best. Yeah.
I think they'd all give him a shout out, or they'd say like, "Wow, I didn't expect to win. Leo turned in such a performance."
Right.
He actually ate a bison's liver,
Yeah, a raw
like a raw bison liver, and he's vegan.
Yes.
Like,
And so when he retched, it
Dedication,
was
people,
real,
yeah.
and he had to have his attorneys and agents sign off on it, even though it was his idea to do it, because they were so nervous about actually letting him go through. But do you think the others who would have won in our hypothetical discussion would have called him out? Because I also feel like then by calling him out specifically, it's a little bit degrading if they said, this one should have been yours, Leo. Like, not to the other four, not like yours,
Right.
Eddie Redmayne, not yours, anyone else, but Leo, this.
I think what you guys
Right.
didn't notice is I know there wasn't a podium this year, but there's a red button under the microphone, and it's the Kanye button.
Oh.
So you don't have to do it. You just hit the Kanye button, and Kanye comes out and grabs the microphone. We're like, hold up,
I'm
Eddie
gonna let you
Redmayne.
finish, but
I'm gonna let you finish, Eddie Redmayne, but Leonardo DiCaprio, the greatest actor of all time.
Which would have been amazing.
yes.
So it would have been.
It would have overshadowed anything else.
would have
Yes.
overshadowed Stacey Dash, Oscar so
Broke
white,
the internet entirely.
Spotlight winning Best Picture,
Yeah. Right.
investigative journalists. We would have all just been talking about Kanye West, dude in debt for some reason.
I'm just going to pray for Kanye. I don't want to give him any... Kanye and Stacey Dash are right there next to each other right now for me.
For you.
All right, Best Picture. All the talk, all the rage. There are 8 of them. There were really only 2 favorites. It was between The Revenant and Spotlight.
Oh, and see, I thought The Big Short. I heard a lot about The Big Short.
There was a lot about The Big Short, but it was hitting into the Golden Globes. It was Spotlight's to lose. And then The Revenant won the Golden Globe, and The Revenant picked up a lot of steam heading into heading into tonight. That The Revenant was the odds-on favorite. Inarritu was going to be the best director. And historically, that's only 4 out of 10 years that it doesn't happen the other way, that another movie will win. And Spotlight wins.
Yeah.
You could have found about 3 or 4 to 1 odds on it. Just for those of you tracking that. I try not to bring these things up too much.
I thought it was interesting because I felt like we didn't hear so much about Spotlight. Like, there weren't a lot of nominations for it. They didn't win coming up to this, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they won early on.
Yeah.
Won, but I
They were
just sort of
nominated
felt
a
like
little,
it was
and-
like, oh, a surprise, Best Picture.
Right.
It was definitely a surprise because I think most of us were, especially heading into the order they went to, was Inarritu wins, then Leo wins, and then it's Spotlight.
Right.
That said, I think Spotlight was a wonderful film. I think all of the 8 Best Picture nominees were worthy of the honor and could all hail the honor of being the Best Picture of the year, including Mad Max, which I thought would have been like so punk rock for Mad Max to win Best Picture, because a movie that's that just in your face and can make a bunch of money, and be that just like a lot of practical effects. Like the flames were real, I think, out of that guitar.
Really?
Like that's how legit that movie was. That I think that would have been a great choice. Bridge of Spies is like anytime Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg get together, they just get to make a cool movie.
Right.
They just get like, because they don't get together unless the movie's that cool and that worthy. But I like Spotlight a lot. I think we talked a lot about Spotlight. Are there any of the 8 that we haven't really talked about before we wrap this up?
Brooklyn, we didn't address that one. The Martian was also nominated.
The Martian was hysterical.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
It did have funny spots, but I really like, the entire film. I thought it was really great. And honestly, it was a long film, but I found myself captivated like the entire way. And it just really made me think about the people that are maybe doing the Mars mission in 2017 or later. I can't remember which year it is, but yeah. Nonetheless, I thought that movie was going to actually get a little more glory than it did tonight. I was kind of feeling like that may have been one of those that people thought it was a snub. Did they?
No, I thought
they weren't feeling that.
No, well, I thought it was worthy of like a lot of production design and technical awards, and then maybe even a writing award. But for up against something like Revenant or Spotlight, I thought it was a little outmatched. I agree. Thought Brooklyn was a little slow. I'm not saying it was bad. I just thought it moved methodically, and I know that they were trying to say something that was intentional. But that was my one piece on Brooklyn, where I was like, oh, it's a very slow movie. It took its time to get there. But Bridge of Spies was great. We talked about Mad Max. I think we've covered everything.
With Brooklyn, too, one of the things that they weren't nominated for that I actually thought they deserved was costume design, because I thought they did such a beautiful job. Like, if you watch Saoirse Ronan's jackets, for instance, throughout the movie, the color of the jacket reflects exactly what's going on. There were a lot of really nice details in there, so I thought that was a category that they deserved. Best Picture, maybe not.
Yeah.
Again, I'm happy for Spotlight because of my background and knowledge about the industry. I was happy to see that kind of movie get celebrated. So
I felt the exact same way, and they had the dream team in there: Michael Keaton, Mark Ruffalo, Rachel McAdams.
Yeah,
so,
I love her.
Right? Yeah, great.
I love Rachel McAdams. I will say her performance in Spotlight specifically, not her ability to perform,
wasn't her best in your opinion. I guess
I don't think the role was written to be a performance role.
Right.
Like even the clip they showed more or less spotlighted the other person.
Yes.
That she was more like a straight, in a comedy terms, the straight man to someone else. That said, she's wonderful.
Do you think this theme of investigative journalism will carry over next year? Because Tina Fey's got this movie Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. You think that'll get nominated now?
No, that looks...
It's more comical.
It's a comedy.
That's a comedy.
But make it a little something.
Yeah.
It might.
But I think when the room goes this silent, I think it's time to go.
Wait a second. Did
Yes.
we ever talk about Sam Smith?
Sam Smith winning...
No, we did not.
We didn't talk about...
Winning Song of the Year?
We just kind of talked
We grazed over that. We should address that real fast.
Yes, please.
We love him, of course. He's a great singer, and I was hearing out there the really interesting part of that song is he doesn't like singing it, allegedly, because it's such a big range, the highs and the lows. And to me, when I heard that song, I loved it. Like, I think it's in the intro of the movie, and I was like, oh, I'm going to download this immediately. So to see him perform it tonight, I thought, good for you, because I know that's hard on the vocals, and he's had some vocal surgery in the past. So, I'm really impressed, and he deserved that.
And he looked great.
Yeah.
His acceptance speech was beautiful.
And did you guys hear about the Razzies? Since we're on the topic of the Oscars, the big Razzie winner was, what do you think? Let's hear your guesses first, and then I'll tell you.
So Razzie is the worst movie. Oh, man.
I feel like the Razzie went to the room to further confuse everyone.
No, there's two. There's two that had the big wins. So what do you think? Okay, the room.
I don't know, because I can't even think of what else I've seen for nominated for Razzies.
Do you have any guesses?
I just know Sandra Bullock that year that accepted her award for both.
Yeah.
Okay, 50 Shades of Grey.
Nice.
Yes.
And the Fantastic Four.
Both of those make complete sense. Those were both terrible.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey, I think, took home 5, I want to say. I was like, ooh, they were the big winner, unfortunately, of that. But nonetheless, they did have a high-grossing film, so they're laughing all the way to the bank on the other hand. So
as they shoot number 2.
yeah, exactly.
And then Fantastic Four, which is just a placeholder so a company can hold on to 4 characters instead of give them to Disney. It's literally what it exists for. The same reason we see so many X-Men movies.
Right, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
It just came up with Deadpool recently, right? That the characters were actually sold off by Marvel because they needed some money back before they realized they were big money makers. And now X-Men all belong to Sony, including Deadpool. So Sony's laughing all the way to the bank.
So on that note, Spotlight, Best Picture.
There we go.
Investigative journalism is back.
I think so.
I want it to be,
it
but
never left.
I really want it to
And
be.
it shouldn't leave.
And I want more people to see that movie and to understand what true journalism is. Also, that if you live in an American city, there's a good chance that some of those priests are still at the archdiocese you go to.
Yeah.
But then that's the other really depressing ending to that movie. It's like, not only is investigative journalism dead, but there are pedophile priests everywhere.
And on that happy note, thanks for joining us.
Right?
But yeah, thank you guys so much. If you guys want to tweet at us to let us know we said something wrong, there's a snub we missed, anything like that, starting to my left, Zoe, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's Zoe Said What. I'm Zoe Hewitt, and I would love to hear your thoughts, so let me know what you thought tonight.
Once again, I'm Samantha Benitz. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz.
Once again, it's your girl McCall Hall. When sports and pop culture collide, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat at McCall Hall.
And I'm your host, Steve Kaufmann. You can find me at Steve Kaufmann. That is KAUFMANN. I'm also on Instagram, Steve_Kaufmann, but I only do it on Thursdays. I do a lot of shows here at AfterBuzz TV. I tweet about them regularly. Thank you so much. And I have more things to say, and I'd like to thank, and I'm gone.
And don't forget.
Right?
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.